our country has taken a radical shift towards the acceptance of really child mutilation, what's going on with the transgender thing. I mean, even in our school that we have in our town, there are 2 girls that identify as horses, and our principal and the teachers, they just turn a blind eye and accept it. And so you have to accept them.
What town is that? Where is that school?
That's in Iowa City.
Nope, that's a lie. There are not students in your school in Iowa City that identify as horses, despite what this Trump caucus captain, as his white hat so blatantly says. That is not true. If it is true, these 2 girls were either joking or they are legitimately crazy, and that has nothing to do with any reality that has anything to do with transgender people. Why did you link that to transgender people? What does that have to do with somebody identifying as a gender that they were not born as? What's that got to do with somebody identifying as a horse? Zero. And our country is taking a radical shift toward accepting child mutilation? Nope, nobody is. Nobody's shifting towards mutilating children, okay? I personally don't believe that children under 18 should be able to have gender-changing surgery. They should be able to get gender-affirming care. I think until the brain is fully formed, you shouldn't be able to switch your gender, but that has nothing to do with the demonization of the transgender community that you are trying to achieve with your very malinformed and intentionally disinformation spilling opinion. This reminds me of a year or so ago when the big GOP talking point was children in schools were identifying as cats, and so they were putting litter boxes in unisex bathrooms.
This whole furry thing.
The first sign of the rumor in the U.S. appears to have been this Michigan school board meeting last December.
I heard that at least one of our schools in our town has in one of the unisex bathrooms, a litter box for the kids that identify as cats.
Where it was discussed by a parent without proof, then shared on Facebook by a chairwoman of the Michigan Republican Party, referring to furries, a small group of people who are interested in and may dress up as animals with human-like features. The false story snaking its way across the country.
They think they're a cat. A cat. They put tails on and they demand that they have a litter box in the school.
Also was completely not true and disproven. There was one school that had a bag of cat litter in its emergency supplies because, wait for it, very sadly, very grimly, they had to prepare for if students were locked down in a classroom for a long time because of a school shooter and had to use the restroom in the classroom.
Of all the schools called out for having kitty litter, NBC found only one that actually has it on campus in Jefferson County, home to Columbine High School. But the litter is part of an emergency supply kit in case students are stuck in a classroom too long during a school shooter situation. Not the reason politicians are sharing.
It's a survival kit, you guys. Now, these people on TikTok complaining about the bucket, how many of them do you think go to work every day and have to worry about maybe pooping in a bucket because there's a shooter at their work? Not very many, but you do.
But of course, the good old GOP, the grand old party, isn't going to want to do anything to get rid of the actual cause for that litter being in a classroom, do they?
They just turned a blind eye and accept it.
No, they're going to ignore that one. And they're just going to instead be outraged over a fake issue that they can drive people scared to the polls to vote for a bunch of people that are completely misinformed. So I have a feeling you're only going to be offering thoughts and prayers to access to literal war machinery being available to children to go into schools and shoot people with, or to the general public. But you're going to make a real outrage and a real urgent problem out of non-existent problems yet again, aren't you? Of course you are. That's the GOP way. So let's go back to our Trump caucus captain from the very beginning of this video and see what he thinks is to blame for this situation of children turning into horses.
It's disgusting what's taking place in this country, and we're
Do you put that on President Biden at all?
No, absolutely. It's all coming from the Democrat left. You know, Biden gave a speech, a Christmas speech. He never once mentioned the name of Jesus. Donald Trump has repeatedly talked about Jesus and talked about him being the joy of Christians everywhere and Americans everywhere and the reason for the season and everything else. I mean, Donald Trump, he's actually talking about Jesus at his rallies. And we're not deists in this country.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. Obviously, you know that and you don't care. But you're upset that Biden didn't mention Jesus? during a Christmas speech, but Trump has many times mentioned Jesus? Does it matter to you if the person actually is religious or believes in the principles of the religion? Because Biden actually is a religious man, and Trump quite clearly is not. Trump has committed sin after sin, doesn't go to church, and holds Bibles upside down. That doesn't bother you at all, though, right? Because he's mentioned Jesus at his rallies, because he knows that riles up people like you and gets you all excited. So excited you have to run probably to church and get right in that confessional booth and explain exactly the impure thoughts you're having that are very not Christian-like. I mean, seriously, it would be better at this point to be a horse. You wouldn't have to deal with any of this stuff.
It's disgusting what's taking place in this country.
For Rebel HQ, I'm Ben Gleib. You can follow me on Instagram for much more hay and corn feed or trough water, whatever horses do.